Robert John Maudsley is a British serial killer responsible for the murders of 4 people. He committed 3 of these murders in prison after receiving a life sentence for a single murder. He was alleged to have eaten part of the brain of one of 3 men he killed in prison, which earned him the nickname Hannibal the Cannibal among the British press. However, the Press Complaints Commission records that national newspapers were subsequently advised that the allegations were untrue. According to the autopsy report, Mark Anthony Martin is an inactive American stock car racing driver. He last drove the number 14 Stewart-Haas Racing Chevrolet SS in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on an interim basis until car owner Tony Stewart was cleared following a sprint car-related injury from August 2013. Peter Thomas Anthony Manuel was an American-born Scottish serial killer who was convicted of murdering 7 people across Lanarkshire in southern Scotland between 1956 and his arrest in January 1958, and is believed to have murdered 2 more. Patrick David Mackay is a British serial killer who confessed to murdering 11 people in Britain in the mid-1970s. Bruce George Peter Lee is one of Britain's most prolific killers. He confessed to a total of 11 acts of arson, and was convicted of 26 counts of manslaughter. 11 of these were overturned on appeal. Lee was imprisoned for life in 1981. Michael Lupo was a serial killer originally from Italy, active in Britain. He operated from the Yves Saint Laurent boutique in Brompton Road, London during the 1980s. Colin Ireland was a British serial killer known as the Gay Slayer because his victims were homosexual men. Ireland suffered a severely dysfunctional upbringing. He committed various crimes from age 16 and had served time in borstalls and prisons. Trevor Joseph Hardy, also known as the Beast of Manchester, was a convicted British serial killer who murdered 3 teenage girls in the Manchester area between December 1974 and March 1976. In 1977, he was found guilty and was sentenced to life imprisonment. Anthony Hardy is an English serial killer. Archibald Thompson Hall was a British serial killer and thief. Born in Glasgow, Scotland, he became known as the Killer Butler or the Monster Butler after committing crimes while working in service to members of the British aristocracy. John George Hay, commonly known as the Acid Bath Murderer, was an English serial killer during the 1940s. He was convicted of the murders of 6 people, although he claimed to have killed 9. He used acid not to kill his victims but in what he believed to be a foolproof method of body disposal. He would dissolve their bodies in concentrated sulfuric acid before forging papers to be able to sell their possessions and collect substantial sums of money. Stephen John Grieveson is an English serial killer who was convicted on February 28, 1996 of the murders of 3 teenage boys in the city of Sunderland, Tyne and Wear from 1993 to 1994. It was ascertained at his trial that Grieveson murdered the boys in order to conceal his homosexuality. Kenneth Erskine is a British serial killer who became known as the Stockwell Strangler. Amelia Elizabeth Dyer was one of the most prolific serial killers in history, murdering infants in her care over a 20-year period in Victorian England. She was tried and hanged for one murder, but there is little doubt she was responsible for many more similar deaths, possibly 400 or more. John Duffy and David Mulcahy are 2 Irish rapists and serial killers who together attacked numerous women at railway stations in the south of England through the 1980s. They are known as the Railway Rapists and the Railway Killers. Dr. Thomas Neil Cream, also known as the Lambeth Poisoner, was a Scottish-Canadian serial killer, who claimed his first proven victims in the United States and the rest in England, and possibly others in Canada and Scotland. Mary Ann Cotton was an English woman convicted of murdering her children. She was believed to have murdered up to 21 people, mainly by arsenic poisoning. John Reginald Halliday Christie was a notorious English serial killer active during the 1940s and early 1950s. He murdered at least 8 women, including his wife Ethel by strangling them in his apartment at 10 Rillington Place, Notting Hill, London. George Chapman was a Polish serial killer known as the Borough Poisoner. Born to Aaron Antonowicz Osolski in Congress, Poland, he moved as an adult to England, where he committed his crimes. He was convicted and executed after poisoning 3 women, but is remembered today mostly because some authorities suspected him of being the notorious serial killer, Jack the Ripper. Robert Black is a Scottish serial killer convicted of the kidnapping and murder of 4 girls between the ages of 5 and 11 between 1981 and 1986 in the United Kingdom. He was convicted of sexually assaulting one of the girls and of raping the other 3.